On this episode of the Procedurally Generated Show, Tony crushes robotic enemies and Ethan tries to rescue a princess. We talk about the week's biggest news and answer your question. Howdy, everybody. Welcome to the Procedurally Generated Show. I'm your host, Tony, and joining me this week, I've got Ethan.
Hey.
What's up?
Nothing.
Is it still icy in Texas?
No, it's like pretty good the like following day.
Yeah. Yeah, if I remember from my time living down there, because there are no trees anywhere, the ice just sort of comes in and it covers everything.
Yeah.
And then it's usually gone the next day.
Yeah, that's fairly accurate.
So, and you don't get a lot of snow. It was either
either
rain
ice
or ice.
It's either wet or it's ice. Yes.
That's what I remember from living in the panhandle of Texas.
I had a frost guard that I put on my windshield. You don't know what they are. It's like a, I don't know.
It's a cover you put over your windshield.
Yeah, it's the best way to go about it. And so it started getting icy, so I like scraped all this ice off my car, went home, drove home. And so there's like still moisture on there, so it kind of froze it to the windshield just perfectly so nothing else could get in there.
Mm-hmm.
But ice covered everything else overnight. So my frost guard is frozen to the car. And so I had to peel that off in the morning, and the whole car, I have the car running trying to defrost, and it's like, I'm not going to be able to see out the side windows or the back windshield, and I don't have mirrors.
That's the one thing I really like about having a carport is I don't have to worry about any of that ice stuff.
Yeah, it's nice. That's really nice. So yeah, I ended up just like leaving the car door open, looking, backing out.
Oh man.
A cop that lives nearby, he drives by while I'm doing all this.
So are you stealing that car?
He knows me well enough. But it was kind of funny because he can't be bothered to even, because he just knows. So yeah, he's just trying to get to work.
Yeah, I always hate whenever it ices and you've got like that half-inch layer of ice over everything. You have to chip the door handle away so that you can actually open the door.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not just the door handle; you have to chip around the edges of the door as well, or that door ain't going nowhere.
Oh man, I came back from when I was driving back from college one year. Ice storm or something was rolling. Snowy ice storm was rolling in, and I got halfway home. That's when it hit, and oh man, it's just bad. And finally, I get home like instead of the 50 minutes it takes like 2 hours. And I get home, it's like I can't get out of my driver's side door because that half of the car is just frozen.
Mm-hmm.
Crawl over the passenger side and throw everything out.
Luckily, we haven't gotten any ice around here. It's been really cold, but it's also been rainy.
Yeah, you guys got really good luck on that ice storm that we had.
Yeah, if it had been a few degrees colder, we might have gotten some ice, but we lucked out and it warmed up just enough that it rained for like 2 days, but we didn't get any ice.
Oh, the frost guard. I usually keep it in my trunk. And so when I peeled it off my car, it's like, all right, pop the trunk so I can put it in there. And then I'm just standing there on all this ice looking at my frozen trunk. That won't open.
And that's a bad thing.
Yeah, so I ended up shoving the thing in the back seat of my car and just left.
Man. Well, aside from adventures in ice skating, what have you been playing this week?
Yes, because no one wants to hear about me complain about the ice. Got it. I played Yeah, I could go through it. Let's see. Played a little bit of Destiny 2, like always. No one really cares. It's just
Okay.
grinding out the pinnacle gear, the higher level stuff. So that's cool. From there, kind of entertained the idea of playing Sonic Lost World. See, I can't even say it without having to think it over really hard. Sonic
Or,
Lost World.
trying to suppress a gag.
Yes. uh, was kind of showing it off to Jason, and then had to introduce him to the Zelda level on the Wii U version. So I was switching from PC to Wii U. He didn't know it existed on Sonic Lost World, and that's a really beautiful level. And then that ended up leading into me playing Twilight Princess today.
Those are very different games.
Yes.
So, how much Twilight Princess did you play?
I got the little spinny top deal.
Okay. That's pretty good ways into the game.
Yeah, I stopped inside that dungeon. Like, I was right about to get that when I stopped. And I think that was like 3, 4 months ago I did that.
Oh, okay.
So, came back to it, did that, got the top, defeated the skeletal boss thingy in that area. And then went to the northern snowy peaks and just finished off the ice monster lady in there.
Okay.
And that's still one of the most adorable after boss scenes in the game I've seen to date. Because
Yeah.
like the husband rushes in, the big husband Yeti guy, whatever, rushes in, knocks you out of the way, and he's like, "My wife," grabs her and calms her, or he's like, just saying, "You don't need the mirror. You can just look into my eyes and see your own reflection." And
How
then
sweet.
the room kind of just has this reddish hue happen as they're so happy and hearts are just exploding from them, and then the heart piece shoots out. It's just it's really nice.
Yeah. Are you gonna? Is this a playthrough of the game where you're gonna go and actually finish the game, or is
Yes,
this just a little bit of fun?
I'm gonna finish the game. I'm getting all the pose. That is my goal. As it was last time I played it on the second playthrough. Get all pose. And I couldn't do that because one of them decided to be glitched or something, and so I could never get them all done.
Yeah.
But this is Twilight Princess HD. I'm gonna do that. Get all the heart pieces. Probably gonna do the super awesome dungeon on there and save that all to my wolf amiibo. So it's gonna be really awesome.
At least you've got the wolf amiibo, so you can save all that important progress.
Well, it works on Breath of the Wild, and Breath of the Wild 2 is going to be coming out eventually. So
Yeah.
I assume they'll still keep amiibo support in there for all the Zelda amiibos they've released, and maybe that amiibo will maybe the Wolf amiibo will still maintain functionality with the 20 heart thing that it can do.
Mm. And the have Wolf Link run around the world with you.
Yeah,
So,
I
okay,
mean, there's benefits all around to it.
that's true. Aside from the fact that it's just a really cool looking figure.
It is, but it's shoved into a bag full of all the other amiibos, but one.
Oh well, all of my amiibos are in a toy box in the kids' room. So
The only one that's not in there is Link's Awakening.
I need that one.
He just sits
Like
on my desk looking at me with those soulless black eyes.
for a long time, I wanted to get, if nothing else, all of the Zelda amiibo, and that sort of fell by the wayside. I don't have any of the champions. I don't have any of the not Twilight Princess, the Breath of the Wild amiibo at all. I think those are the ones that I'm missing, and I don't have Link's Awakening. Which,
There's
if I'm going to buy an amiibo, that's one I'm going to buy.
yeah, I need to figure out which ones I don't have and probably order them sometime soonish. Because when another Zelda game gets announced with amiibo support, it's just going to make them skyrocket.
Oh, probably. Uh, I may just I'll just end up doing the thing where you put all the amiibo on your phone, and
Oh,
you just pick the one that you want, and turn your phone into that amiibo.
I should probably look into that one day.
So, because I know there's no way I'm going to ever get a full amiibo.
While I had the Wii U turned on, I went to the that one game on there where you had the amiibo tap thing, where you tap the amiibo and it lets you play a game.
Yeah,
And Link's Awakening amiibo unlocks a like NES pinball.
some of those there was no like rhyme or reason, and I'm not 100% sure that each amiibo unlocks the same thing every time. Like
Probably not.
I'm almost certain that it's random.
It probably has to be for like the most part. I don't know. Maybe Mario just unlocks Mario every time, but I don't know.
Yeah, that was not a game in quotation marks that I spent a lot of time with, but that other one, the mini Mario one,
Hmm.
that was a lot of fun. Like if you like those mini Mario games from the Game Boy, um, like the Game Boy Advance, those games,
The Attack of the Minis.
yeah,
Hmm. Okay.
where it's the puzzle game that's sort of like the Lemmings series.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, that game was a lot of fun. Like I'm surprised we haven't seen one of those since then. So
Maybe one day.
perhaps, perhaps. So, well, anything else?
No, I really didn't play. I mean, I played a lot of video game stuff, but it's stuff I've talked about so much. I'm not going to bore people with it any longer than I need to.
Yeah, I actually played like a little bit of a lot of things this week. So, but let's see. One that I wanted to talk about first. I've been playing a bunch of Call of Duty because I found out that Call of Duty Mobile added controller support. I think we talked about that a little bit in the pre-show.
Yeah,
Um,
which not everyone will get to hear.
that's true. But I've gotten sucked into Call of Duty Mobile pretty heavy the last couple of days. But
You're in the
actually,
top 9,000 players now on that version.
woohoo! Um, I did play a bunch of Anthem earlier this week.
Define a bunch.
Well, like four missions.
Okay, okay, that's more than me.
So, like I've done the first four missions of the game, and I I don't know. Everybody talks about how bad that game is, but I enjoyed my time with it so far. Like I don't know if it's just because I haven't gotten to the point where the game apparently gets really bad, or just what exactly it is about that game that people don't like. But so far, I have enjoyed it.
I just think it's the amount of content on there. Like, you get to the end game immediately, and it's like there's no end game at all.
Really.
I think that's what it was originally, and then the scaling and everything of the weapon drops didn't match anything, so it was just
Okay.
awful on that side.
There may be some of that because I haven't done a ton with like customization of my character in any way. I'm still using pretty much the stuff that you start out with. Um, so maybe there's a little bit of that, and once I start to do some of that, I'll start to see those flaws. But so far, with the first four missions or so in the game, it's been really fun. I get, and I've talked to you about this a little bit, but I definitely get a bit of a Mass Effect feel, and like I'm talking the
Yeah.
first Mass Effect because that's the only one that I've played, so I can't compare it to some of the other ones. Um,
No, I mean it's fair. I can see the resemblance.
but the movement and the shooting feels like Mass Effect to me, and I don't think that's a bad thing.
Compared to Mass Effect 1, I definitely see how the movement and all that feels like that. But when you look at like Mass Effect 2 and 3, they've had time to perfect and make the game better. Whereas
Hmm.
this one, it's kind of more of a fine tuning stage still on that, I believe is what it is.
Yeah, because like I can tell that it's definitely a shooter, but it's not a fast paced shooter. It's not like Call of Duty. It definitely allows you to take some time to set up shots and things like that, and you get that RPG element with every time you shoot somebody, you see numbers flying up over their head. So I'm assuming there's some, you know, random, RNG stuff going on with your shots. Um, but so far, it feels really good. I'm actually going to keep playing it for a while and seeing how far I get, and if I do finally get to that point where the game, I understand now why people don't like the game because people have been talking about wanting to do or wanting to see BioWare do this like Final Fantasy 14 complete overhaul to Anthem, so it's basically a different game than the one that was originally released.
Yeah, and I'm honestly kind of looking forward to that as well.
So at this point I don't see the reason to need to do that, but um there are a lot of people who are a lot further into that game than I've gotten. So I'll definitely be very interested in seeing what happens from this point. Um, but the other game that I've been playing, the one I wanted to talk a little bit about, is a game on the Switch called Super Crush KO that just came out this week. This is a run and gun style platformer, um, not Contra ish. It puts a big emphasis on physical combat and not necessarily the shooting aspect. The shooting aspect is a small part of the combat overall, but the developers or people have called it a run and gun style platformer.
Okay.
It's developed by the people that developed Graceful Explosion Machine on the Switch, which was it was really early on in the Switch's life. Uh, it was a side-scrolling shooter that was super brightly colored. Um, this keeps that sort of visual style. This is very pastel in its look, though. It's got a lot of pinks, a lot of maroons, some blue in the color scheme. Um, but you play as this girl. I don't honestly, I don't know what's going on in the story. I haven't been paying attention to the story.
It's so
It's
captivating, you can't pay
it's
attention.
it's a tiny little portion of the game, and they don't do a lot, focusing on the story. It's a small bit of the game. They really put most of the emphasis on, the running and the jumping and the shooting part, and the story's just there for you to click some buttons and read some text.
Okay.
Uh,
All right.
but the game is really it's a really fast paced sort of combo driven platformer where you'll do a little bit of a platforming section, and then the whole thing stops and it opens up this sort of combat arena where there's platforms to jump on, multiple heights, multiple pathways that you can go on, and then it drops half a dozen or so enemies onto the screen that all do different things. Some of them are small, slow crawling things that shoot at you. Others are similar to like bats and they fly around. And then there's these other big, hulking, sort of four-legged machines that will stop. And when they shoot, they send out this like explosion that goes in all directions that has this sort of bullet hell style thing that's going on whenever they shoot. So you've got to avoid those while you're trying to get in close to attack it. And once you get into combat with these things, it is all about hitting the buttons really quickly, stringing together moves into combos. Because every time you start a fight, it puts up a combo meter in the top
Mm-hmm.
right portion of the screen, and you're trying to fill up that combo as best as you can to get more points. So you'll string together really quick punches, and then it has these other like special moves that are things like uppercuts and diving punches and ground pounds. And then you've got a button that will shoot a gun, um, but it's very limited in the amount of time that you can actually do that. After just a couple of seconds, the gun starts to overheat and the rate of fire slows down and it almost stops after about 5 seconds. So you can't rely on that for a long period of time. What you're supposed to do is use that in the middle of your combos to either keep the combo going because an enemy's too far away from you to reach it before the combo meter would disappear, or using that to do punches to the enemies on the ground and then jump up in the air, shoot the enemies that are flying around, and then land back down on the ground and continue the combo with other enemies that are on the ground.
So you're 360 no scope in the world.
Essentially.
Nice.
Um, and if when you hit those combos and you see that combo meter hit the S rank, it feels really good. But of course, anytime an enemy hits you, that stops the combo there. If you take too long, the combo stops and you lose a lot of potential points that you're trying to get before the end of the level. Because once you finish a level, it then allows you to upload your score for that level to a leaderboard. Um, and already, after just the first couple of days, some of the scores on that are really competitive, and you'd have to get close to perfect runs I've seen to be able to get to the top of the leaderboard in some cases. Um, so while there is a bit of a story, that's really not the focus of the game, uh, and I'm having a lot of fun with it. It's set up in, I think there's I don't know the full number of levels because I'm not quite done with the game. But it's set up in these like 5 level chunks where each 5 levels has a slightly different color scheme or theme to it. Um, and you're trying, you just, once you finish 5 levels, it moves on to the next thing, which will then, the next set of levels, which will add new enemy types to the game and things like that. So, uh, really, really enjoying it. It's really nice to look at. Uh, the combat feels really good. You can tell they've put a lot of time into making it worth your while to become really good at hitting those combos and stringing them together. So um, I've been putting a bunch of time into that this week and going back. Even after I've gotten deeper into the game, going back and trying to finish some of the other levels to actually see if I can raise my score on the leaderboard a bit, now that more people have started playing it. Because while before the game came out, I was fairly high on the leaderboards, I started to drop really quickly. And now I'm trying to go back in and see if I can get, some higher levels on some of the leaderboards. So,
This is a very vibrant, colorful game.
yeah, it really is.
Lots of shades of pink and purple and blues and reds.
Yeah, it is a very the graceful explosion machine was the same way. It used a similar sort of color palette, even though it would mix in some different colors. It had that same sort of look to it.
Okay,
Um,
yeah, it does. All right.
and my favorite thing about what not my favorite thing, but one of my favorite things about Super Crush KO is that every once in a while, as you're going through, once you finished a combat area, there will be a vending machine just on the other side when the screen scrolls, and you punch the vending machine to refill a heart uh, if you're starting to run low.
The main character kind of the original. Looks like Sailor Jupiter from the original Sailor Moon series.
Really?
Yeah, just throwing that out there.
Okay. But that is what I have been playing this week. I'm not quite finished with the game, but I'm very close, and so I am going to finish that this week and mark that game off my list and add it to the new 2020 list of games so that I can start keeping track of everything I've been playing this year for Game of the Year at the end of the year. So
Starting your game of the year list, and it's only January.
that's right. So that is it for me. So let's take a quick break. We will come back and we will talk about the news. All right. Well, Ethan,
Tony.
2 weeks in a row we got a Nintendo Direct.
2 weeks in a row. Man, people are
Last
spoiled now.
last week we got Pokemon, and the reaction to the expansion pass for Pokemon.
It was
This week
it was kind of a resounding meh, yeah, okay.
it was mixed, I would say.
There wasn't anger or anything. It was just kind of, yeah, that's the thing.
So, but we had Pokemon last week. This week we got another single game focused direct, and it was all about Smash Brothers. So,
Well, what could possibly go wrong with that?
well, in this direct, they were going to allow Sakurai to show off the fifth and final character of the first fighter pass for Smash Brothers. And the fifth and final character was not what people expected, I think, is the best way to put it.
Well, that's yeah, that's accurate.
Because we didn't get a third party favorite. We didn't get a super surprise. Oh, I guess it could be a super surprise character. Um, but we got another Fire Emblem character added to the game.
Oh, joy.
And it is Byleth from Fire Emblem Three Houses.
Because that's what everyone was begging for.
So people were very, very negative about the addition of another Fire Emblem character to Smash Brothers. Um, this character is very different from the other Fire Emblem characters. They made a big they made a decision to put a big emphasis on the fact that Byleth doesn't use a sword, like as their main weapon.
Byleth uses what, like different weapons or something, like an
There's a
axe and stuff.
there's a bow. Depending on which direction you attack, the weapon will change. I think there's an axe, maybe a spear. I think it's using the weapons triangle, basically from
I've never
or
played, so
a version of the weapons triangle from Fire Emblem.
okay.
Uh, so I actually I'm not on the side of anger when it comes to the addition of another Fire Emblem character. Would not have been my first choice. Obviously, I think Fire Emblem
Right.
is pretty well represented, but at the same time, I understand this is one of the best-selling games from the last year. It is one of the best-selling, might be the best-selling game on the Switch. I don't actually know
It
for sure.
sold 2.2
Um,
million, if I
so it's
recall
not
the
the
numbers people were tossing out at some point trying to prove a point.
not the best-selling game on the Switch, but it is up there. It is in the list of multiple millions sellers on the system. So it makes sense to have a character for this game in Smash Brothers. Um,
Yeah, it's all in house too, so it's not like they're having to beg a third party person to let them have the character as is, or if it's good enough or bad,
or
whatever. Not bad
yeah,
enough. What am I thinking? Oh gosh.
having to try to fit another character into the Smash Brothers mold that maybe
Okay, we're gonna
would
use
take a lot
Sonic
of work.
today. Is his blue enough, Sega? Yes or no?
Yeah, exactly. So they don't have to worry about all of that with a third party type character. Um, I think my biggest issue with it is using this fifth and final spot of the first fighters for a Fire Emblem character. I maybe would have held this off to the first or even the character in the next fighter pass, which we knew was coming. They talked about that a little bit during this direct.
Yeah, making it
Um,
make it make I'm gonna refer to the character as her because that's what most people are showing as the female character. Making her like the first one for the next pack would have been a lot better than what they did because everyone in the fighter pass that was released was a third party character up to that
yeah,
point. Uh,
exactly.
I mean, I guess Banjo kind of sort of breaks the mold on there because he was Nintendo and then he went Microsoft.
Yeah, but he's technically owned by a third party at
True, but
this
that
point.
was a third party that wanted to stay with Nintendo and didn't exactly get their way, and then we end up with ukulele.
I think if Byleth had been either just sort of added to the game as a surprise or had been sort of in the middle of the next fighter pass, the reaction would not nearly have been nearly as negative. If you look on YouTube at the YouTube video for the direct, it's got almost as many dislikes as it had likes. Uh, at the time, not long after the announcement. Very quickly, it went up to like 50 something thousand likes to 35,000 dislikes, which you never see on videos like this. Um, but people were very, very upset with the addition of another Fire Emblem character. Um, so,
Trying to do
but
this without making noise real quick. Give me a second here.
with Byleth, you do have both the male and female versions of the character that you'll be able to choose from, because like the last few Fire Emblem games, this is one of those characters. Uh, you get to pick whether you're playing the male or the female version of the character.
The Mr. Sakurai presents Byleth. 126k likes, 70k dislikes.
Yeah, that is an unusually sort of even uh, likes to dislikes ratio for especially for a Smash Brothers reveal where the last few announcements have been super positive, um, as far as the fan reactions to them. So you can see that a lot of people were not happy with a Fire Emblem character being added. Um, I'm not to the point where I'm like, I don't want another Fire Emblem character. I don't care that much. This is not, I'm not angry over the inclusion of another character, but it's also not something that's just like, oh my gosh, I am so excited that Byleth is finally in the game. Maybe part of that is just because I haven't played Three Houses. If I had, maybe my reaction would be
Different.
more, different one way or the other. Um,
Uh, in my case, it's like I don't play the game, so it's like I don't really care, but
yeah,
I would honestly had preferred someone else other than Byleth.
maybe a Tokyo Mirage Sessions character would have
No,
been cool.
no,
No, no.
no.
So along with the new character, there will also be another stage added to the game for Fire Emblem.
And more music, I bet.
11 new songs from Three Houses are being added to the soundtrack.
Just give us more Persona.
So you're getting more Fire Emblem music, not more Persona
Dang
music.
it.
But also to go along with this, and the character will be out on February, not February, sorry, January 28th. So,
That's 10 days from now.
yep,
That's a
right about
Tuesday. Yep.
right about the end of the month. But to go along with that, there were also five Mii Fighter costumes announced.
There
Um,
were.
there were Mega Man Battle Network is getting a Mii Fighter costume.
Okay.
Mega Man
If
X,
it's
is
got
that
the
right?
red gem in the helmet, yeah.
I think it was Mega Man
It looked
X.
like it was X.
Uh, the Raving Rabbids are getting a Mii costume,
A very weird me. A very weird
so
one. Yes.
you can wear a rabbit head on your head.
Yeah, you don't look
A
like a rabbit. You look like a guy with.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you are a guy in a rabbit costume, and then Assassin's Creed is getting a Mii Fighter costume with Altair,
that outfit looked
his,
all right.
his robes being added to the Mii's, so you can now play as an assassin in Smash Brothers. Uh, I saw some mixed reaction to this. A lot of people I think, would have preferred Ezio, but I think Altair makes a little more sense because his combat was more focused around a sword than Ezio's was. Um,
Uh, I mean, depending how you played your character, you could just drop the
well,
sword entirely.
that is true.
But
But then
he did specialize with both double blades, the sword, the knife. Uh, he had the gun, didn't he? The little internal mechanism for shooting.
Ezio had a gun like that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, he be a more rounded character for Smash rather than Altair,
Hmm.
and he's probably been in more games than Altair as well.
Well, he absolutely has. Well, I don't
Definitely a
know.
more interesting character,
Altair was in. You could play as Altair in the first game.
of course.
In Revelations, there was a small section that you played as Altair. Most of the game was Ezio, but you did have some playable sections as Altair.
Yeah, that was like a flashback thing to like learning more
There was
stuff.
a DS game with Altair and a PSP
And a
game with
PSP
Altair.
game. Wait, he was
So
in the PSP game, not Ezio?
no, it was Altair.
Oh, wow. I gave you the game. I should know this. Hmm.
So yeah, I think maybe Altair is playable in more games than Ezio was. So they weren't as
I'm gonna say Ezio had more time for his games to be played though.
yeah, and of course better games.
Oh yeah,
So
definitely. Like I mean, I could probably count the PSP game as a normal one, but the DS, I don't know.
and if you ask anybody uh, who the most famous character from the Assassin's Creed franchise is, the answer's probably going to be Ezio. He was where the
Connor.
series, yeah, Ezio was where the series was at its best, I think.
Connor was where it's at
So,
its low.
I, hey, I don't think three was that bad.
Oh, it wasn't. It was just different.
Uh,
I still like that ending on there. That it was just dumb. Just dumb.
so,
There we go.
uh, the last of the Mii Fighter costumes to be added, I think maybe could have overshadowed the announcement of a Fire Emblem character.
Let's see if it's
Uh,
gonna overshadow everyone, and we have Sans in there, so it's gonna be Papyrus or Frisk.
no, it is not a character from Undertale.
Okay, it's gonna be Susie from Deltarune.
Nope. No, Toby Fox is not involved in this in any way.
So it's not even Toby Fox.
No, it is Cuphead.
Cuphead.
Cuphead, and,
Okay.
and this is not a me character wearing like a Cuphead hat.
It's
This is like Sans. It turns your me into Cuphead.
so it's a conversion thing. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, and he is a me gunner, and of course, like in Cuphead, his gun is his finger.
Pew pew.
So, and with the addition of Cuphead, they are also adding another song to the soundtrack, and that is the song from the fight against the giant flower. Don't remember the name of it right off the top of my head.
Yeah, I've never played it, so I don't know.
Oh man, it's so good. You should play it.
I have enough frustration.
So so for 75 cents, you can get Cuphead and a new song added to Smash Brothers. And all of those Mii Fighter costumes will be out on January 28th.
Cool.
But once Byleth had been shown off, the Mii characters had been added.
People were
Sakura.
people felt a lot better when they saw the Mii fighters.
I think maybe some people did. And some people were more excited probably about the Cuphead announcement than Byleth. But at the end of the direct, they also announced that the next Fighter Pass will have not 5 characters, but 6.
What, 9,000?
No, not 9,000. I think that would give Sakurai a heart attack. He'd die, and we'd never see the end. That would be the end of Smash Brothers right there. They would just stop the series. Um, no, but 6 new fighters will be added, and these fighters will run through the end of 2021. So you now have 2 years worth of DLC coming to Smash Brothers.
It's going to be a long wait.
So it is going to be.
Nintendo will be on their next console before they're done. I'm kidding, but
You know,
what
that's
if?
that's that's not out of the realm of possibility.
The
Really.
3DS will be dead before they're done.
No, they'll still say they're supporting the 3DS because they're not ready to say, yeah, the 3DS is dead. Just you have to deal with it at this point. They're gonna support it forever. It will have the longest life cycle of any video game system ever. So that is all of the news from the Smash Brothers Direct.
The longest life cycle, you say?
Until you find out that the Intellivision is still technically being supported to this day. Are you trying to find out what video game system has the longest life cycle? It's the PC.
Looks like they're trying to tell me it's the NES, and they're showing a picture of a PS2.
Um, PS2 is not the NES.
When you say life cycle, you mean support, right?
Yes. So, but while you're looking that up, this week a bunch of delays were announced, or over the last couple of weeks, a bunch of delays have been announced. Um, Iron Man VR is getting delayed. Do you know the?
Probably a month, like everything else.
Okay. Um, Final Fantasy VII remake is getting a delay,
Okay.
and I want to find out the details of all of these before we.
Well, they got to go to level 4 and tweak the graphics a bit.
Well,
For those of you who remember that commercial, you're old.
that game has been delayed from March 3rd to April 10th,
Yes.
so a little bit over a month. Along with that, the Avengers game is getting delayed.
Yes.
Uh,
So
try to,
March is going to be a little less busy, but April is going to be a little more busy.
unfortunately, so. But isn't the Avengers?
I don't know the release date on that one.
It's a little bit more. Uh, it was originally scheduled for May. That has been pushed back to September 4th. So that's a bit more of a significant delay. Um, then the big one that is getting talked about was the delay of Cyberpunk 2077.
Oh yeah, It's another big game people are looking forward to.
Yeah, that game has been pushed from April to September.
Okay.
Uh, so that's a 5 month delay, um, which is fairly significant.
Yeah, it means they're putting a lot more work into something on there.
But all of these games are just what they're doing is they're just getting out of the way of Animal Crossing.
That's what they want to do. They just, all right, Animal Crossing is coming out.
Like
We can get a
we
good
can't.
solid month of gameplay here. We don't have to worry about updates or anything until after that month. So let's just get our games out after that.
Yeah, we can't compete with Animal Crossing. It's just not possible. So delay the games, all of them. Doesn't matter. Next week though, we're going to find out that Animal Crossing has been delayed.
Oh
So
gosh.
get ready. Be on the lookout for that Animal Crossing delay to be announced. But what that means though is that people only have to choose between Animal Crossing and Pokemon Mystery Dungeon in March.
They're gonna choose Animal Crossing like they should have.
Oh well, of course. Um,
By the way, I got the that list that I was looking for.
okay.
You want to guess what the longest supported system was?
What was the longest supported system?
The Atari Video Computer System 2600.
Really?
From September of 1977 to January of 92.
Wow.
The last game for the system
They
is still
supported that for
being
a
debated to this day.
well. People still put out new 2600 games even now. So
Uh, uh True. SNK Playmore's the Neo Geo Advanced Entertainment System came out. This is number two. It came out in '91. Lasted till 2004. With the last game being Samurai Showdown 5 Special.
we're not that far away from the release of Samurai Showdown on the Switch.
I know. I think what is it, number 6 or 7? One of those.
Something like that.
The third one is PlayStation 2. That was March 2000 to January 2013. Last game was FIFA 14,
Wow.
followed by PlayStation 1. Last game on that was FIFA 2005. Then the Nintendo NES. And then the Intellivision was the last, as what's after that. Then we fall into the Master System, Genesis, SNES, and 360.
Okay.
Which, that one's still kind of active.
The Atari was
Oh,
the
this is as of
longest.
2013. Wow.
I'm not surprised to see that the Atari tops the list for the system that was supported the longest.
I was looking at all these lists and I was like, that's not right because nothing had the Neo Geo AES listed, and I knew that thing had a solid 13 years on it.
Yeah.
So I kept looking until I found one that actually listed that.
Speaking of Atari, though, they're not going to be at E3 this year.
Atari's not?
No, Atari's not going to be at E3.
Okay.
Um, they're not the only ones who are not going to be at E3, though.
I'm not going to be
Man,
at E3. How'd you know?
it's going to be really embarrassing when Atari shows up to E3 and my segue was just completely stupid.
You just caught on that you said Atari, didn't you?
So, Sony will not be at E3 this year. For the second year in a row, they have announced that they will not be attending E3.
That's sad.
They put out a statement in regards to this, and they say that they don't feel that the vision of E3 2020 is the right venue for what we're focused on this year. Our focus on making sure fans feel part of the PlayStation family and have access to play their favorite content. We have a fantastic lineup of titles coming to PS4, and with the upcoming launch of PS5, we're truly looking forward to a year of celebration with our fans. They did during this say that they will be attending hundreds of consumer events across the globe this year.
But the big ones are like E3.
E3, yeah, it is sort of the biggest one of the year, and well, it has been traditionally the biggest one of the year. In the last couple of years,
They're gonna wait till
there's
the Game Awards.
oh gosh, you're not going to hear anything about PS5 until the Game Awards after the launch of the PS5.
Exactly.
Uh, um, no, who was I listening to earlier this week? I think it might have been the Bombcast, um, and they had mentioned that a lot of Sony's executive staff is sort of focused in Europe now and not the United States.
Hmm.
And so maybe Gamescom would be more likely for them to have a
Yeah.
big focus on like a PS5 release event type thing. PAX is another possibility.
Speaking of
Um,
PAX, that's happening right now. PAX South.
is it?
Yep.
So, um, but yeah, it is weird to think that during the year that one of the big three is going to be releasing a brand new system, they're not going to be showing it off at E3. Um, what we'll see though, we'll see. I think Sony's going to be doing more like Nintendo and focusing a lot on their state of play and doing those types of presentations.
We thought
And
that
then
last year too, and I don't think that happened either.
no, they didn't do anything. They didn't do anything at E3. Um, and they haven't had as many states of play as Nintendo has done directs. Uh, what we may see is some big like mall tours to get the PS5 into the hands of people so that they can see what the PS5 is going to be all about before we're heading to the release of the system. Um, we could see a big focus from them at things like PAX, Gamescom, TGS. Uh,
CES.
that's already happened.
Yeah, that's how we
So
got the logo reveal that
that's
no
true.
one was excited about.
That's what Sony's going to do this year is they're going to go to all of these events and at every one they're going to release one piece of information.
This is the rubber that we're using on the joysticks.
This
Oh my
this
gosh,
is the
let's all take
design.
pictures and selfies with it.
This is the design of the face buttons. That's what they're going to reveal at Gamescom.
This is the hex code for the color we're using on the X button.
And then finally, the day before launch, they show you what the system looks like.
Oh, I'm sorry, the cross button.
Yes, it is a
I
cross button. It is not
had
X.
to be politically correct, or someone will become a
I don't.
SJW or something.
I
Yell
don't
at
think
me.
it's. I don't think it's political correctness to call it the cross button. I think that's what Sony calls it. Um,
And
so that's officially
I
what it's
know it's
called.
cross, but we're all still gonna call it X because that's what we
We're all
see.
well in the states we call it the X button. Um,
Like Project
but
X Zone, it's actually cross. It's actually Project Cross Zone.
see, I do call that Project Cross Zone, and Monster Hunter is Monster Hunter Cross and Double Cross.
Exactly.
So
Final Fantasy 11 is not 11. It's Final Fantasy Cross
Final Fantasy
I.
Cross One, Mortal Kombat Cross is what we got a couple years ago.
It definitely wasn't 10. It was 10.
It was totally 10. Yeah, so I'm actually really curious to see and really interested in seeing what Sony does um, leading up to the launch of the PlayStation. Did come out and say they will definitely be at E3. You know, they own the theater that's like across the street from E3 or wherever it is. I know it's really
They
close to the
own the
E3
area
booth,
E3 will be around.
basically. Um, and you know they're going to want to show off the Series X at every possible event, so they don't even care. They're just going to be everywhere. They're going to
I think
start
it's
coming to
weird. They're
people's
still going to
houses.
support the Xbox One with and Series X at the same time. Like if it can't be it's like if it can't be played on Xbox One, it's not going to be played on Series X, and that's going to be like for a
Yeah.
couple of years or so.
Well, they've said for the first year,
I thought it was
that
like for the first 2 years, but whatever. Either way, that's crazy.
for the first year, Series X will not have any exclusives. They will be backwards compatible with the Xbox One. Um, and I think I'm of the opinion that that is kind of smart, but at the same time, it means that any games for Series X are not going to be able to show off the power of Series X in the best way possible because they have to be developed for Xbox One. Um,
That could be true, or it could just be that they're trying to probably get a really focus on the streaming aspect of it as well through there at some point too.
maybe it could be the type. Well, I was gonna say it could be the type of thing where the game is available on the game comes out on Series X, and then if you want to play it on Xbox One, you can stream it through Game Pass. But I don't think that's what they're doing. I think the game will have to be playable natively on Xbox One.
Maybe it'll be a higher resolution version of it on Series X. I don't know.
We'll see. It wouldn't be they wouldn't be able to do things like improved AI and physics stuff, which is what you would normally see with um
It'll probably have it'll definitely have faster load times and such. So
yeah, well that's a given, I think. Um, so
be kind of like me
20
on the PS4 Pro with the solid state hard drive in there playing Destiny 2 digital versus someone who's on a regular PS4 with the physical copy of the game with a regular hard
all,
drive in there.
all I
So
know is that
there's
2020
massive
is going to be
differences.
2020 is going to be a very interesting year.
So far, it's the year of the delays.
That is true. Um, we gotta cross our fingers that Animal Crossing won't get delayed. So
Yeah, we're gonna put this episode up just after Nintendo says they are delaying that.
right after the episode goes live, Nintendo's like, "Okay, guys,
Like I'm in the middle of uploading it, and that news hits.
we're joining the party. Animal
They're
Crossing has
they're
been
they're
delayed.
posting it right now while we're recording.
Pokemon Mystery Dungeon has been delayed.
Oh gosh, I better check Twitter real quick.
The next Mario game that's not even been announced has been delayed.
Okay. Woo. She said Terrence House, not Tree House. So okay, all right.
Breath of the Wild 2 is not coming out until the next Switch system. So, all right. Well, that is it for the news. Do we have any listener feedback this week?
Kinda. We had one from Nathan via Facebook. And I was not delaying while I was trying to find the thing. So he says, "Have you ever heard of the tragedy of Darth Palgus?
Plagueis.
Plagueis, thank you. Sorry, Darth Plagueis the Wise. No, I've never heard of it.
Well, that's not a story that you would hear from the Jedi. It's a Sith legend.
A Sith legend, you say?
Yeah, Darth Plagueis was a Dark Lord of the Sith, so powerful and so wise he could use the Force to influence midichlorians to create life.
Hmm.
Darth Plagueis was a very powerful Sith Lord. He could save people from death. Um, a lot of people thought that Palpatine was Darth Plagueis.
Nah, he was just pretending.
That's not actually the case, uh, because Palpatine's name was Darth Sidious, not Darth Plagueis. Uh, but it was, you know, the Darth Plagueis story was one of those things that was highly influential in Anakin turning from the Jedi and turning towards the dark side. Uh, because he thought he would be able to use that power to save Padme, which obviously he couldn't do.
He was
And
just an
then
angsty teen. That's all he was.
Obi-Wan got the high ground, chopped his legs off, and Anakin screamed that he hated Obi-Wan. Caught on fire.
Oh man, the high ground with Obi-Wan. I love that comic that I posted about 9 days ago for Shannon in our chat right here.
So
Yeah. He's hanging off the ledge. Darth Maul's standing up there. It's like, Darth Maul's point of view, he has the high ground. And it's like Obi-Wan. It's like, flip the whole thing 90 degrees. Now Obi-Wan hanging off the side of the building has the high ground.
you should toss that in here if you remember, so that
I
people can
probably
see.
will. I'll
So
think
that
about
people
it.
can see. But well, there you
It's
go.
such a crude drawing, too. It's just stick figures.
Now you know a little bit about Darth Plagueis. You've been educated in
Yay.
the ways of the Sith. So
Just
there
before
you go.
Nintendo, or not Nintendo, just before Disney can say it's not canon anymore.
Well, if it happened on screen, it was canon. So the story of Darth Plagueis is technically canon.
What is
Um,
this in the new movies or something? I'm kidding.
it's in the ones that everybody thought were bad before the new trilogy came.
Oh gosh.
So, well, there you go. That will be the show for this week. So, thank you, Ethan, for being on.
Yep. See everyone next time.
Time to play some Call of Duty.
Da 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 da.
If you want to reach out to us, we have new ways to do so. You can email us at procedurallygeneratedent@gmail.com. If you like what we do, you can support us on Patreon by going to patreon.com/pgent. Patreon supporters get the video version of the podcast a day early. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/progenint. Check out our YouTube channel, and we still have that famous Facebook group where you can interact with us on a daily basis as well.